Check one, check two, check three. What's up, you guys? And of course, updating to Windows 11 has screwed all my sound settings up. So let's find out what the deal is and see if I'm even on the stream here. it's, it's amazing. You can stream all the time, and somehow settings get changed. It's fascinating. So we're going to take a look real quick and see what the deal is and whether or not. Yeah. Well, good. So at least I've got some sound. So whatever. Um, in the meantime, let's get back to it. All right. So hello, hello. It is Pop Blender Unfiltered, and it has been a busy week. A lot of work, a lot of busyness at work. And was going to do Friday stream last night, and voice is kind of shot if you can't tell. Sinuses, man, I don't know, really hit me. Contacts were bothering me, all that good stuff. So we'll try to get through the stream today for a little while. I figured at the very least I'd get something out there for the moment, and go for there. Been working on an Acolyte video. It's taken me several days, and it's funny trying to stream 2 to 3 times a week, and then on top of that, trying to do videos and edit with a full-time job, and it actually becomes quite a bit. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot more work than I actually thought it would be, but got to try to plow through it as best that I can. It is fun, but then there's nights, at the bar working busy as all get out, and then get home at 10:30, close to 11 o'clock. And that's actually early for most bartenders. Most people actually work much later than that. So I'm fortunate we close when we do. But when you talk for a living, talk all night long, and then come home, trying to put together a video, my eyes might be tired or my voice is tired from talking all night. And of course, then getting sleep and getting up the next day and either getting ready for work or going in the next morning or whatever it may be. And then, trying to get my voice ready or get my eyes, woken up, so to speak. Right. All that stuff. It's interesting. Of course, here I am whining and crying about it. It still is fun, but chopping up videos and kind of looking at footage, taking 2, 3, 4, 5 takes, 5 different takes of a take on a scene or something like that, and it just, it's sometimes you're just not happy with everything, and so it's a little frustrating this past week trying to get this video done, and then by then, the algorithm has already kind of kicked out any Acolyte coverage, which is understandable, and I'll get into a little bit of that today too. Totally understandable if the Acolyte coverage starts to disappear, because it barely had any in the first place, and the only coverage it did have was from the shill media, who was trying to say what a good show it was and how they were first and all this stuff in having the first Force choke or Darth Plagueis or any number of things that they can now go back and retcon Star Wars lore, because instead of making a show that takes place in the future, so to speak, when you keep going backwards, then you can keep changing everything, and then you can alter the timeline, you can alter the history and the different factions and all that kind of stuff, and you can just kind of do whatever you want. And in that case, whatever George Lucas created becomes really bastardized, but it also takes his vision and completely changes that. And so it's interesting that, we have people that want to continue to go backwards and change everything. So I don't know. I would rather a show be something like, further into the future, well past the sequel trilogy. Um, I would say they need to stay as far away from that as they can. Of course, they do have a Ray movie that's supposedly in the works, although we've heard nothing about it. I don't even know. I haven't read any information that shows they're shooting it, writing it. Usually you get that kind of stuff that comes in and ends up, being a comes in and being a hang on. Oh, well, Bobby Wold popped in. What's going on, buddy? Second Disney Star Wars gives himself in a hole, then they're going to start using the hell out of the world between worlds. Uh, yes, and I see you kind of cleared it up a little bit that the second Disney writes themselves in a hole. Yeah, that's kind of the multiverse thing too. The whole multiverse thing, Bobby, is that yeah, writers can just kind of make up whatever they want, and then they have an excuse to or a way to excuse themselves out of any plot holes or contrivances or anything by using time travel or whatever. And that was the world between worlds was exactly that. Uh, People say, well, it's not time travel, but we saw in the Star Wars Rebels that Ezra was basically able to reach in and pull Ahsoka out of a crumbling temple in a fight with Darth Vader and able to save her. And so when you introduce that stuff, then, all bets are off. And at that point, you don't even have to be careful anymore. You can just do whatever you want, which we've seen. But anyway, good to see you, Bobby. I don't know how many people are going to stop in today. Usually Friday night is when I tend to do these streams and get a few people popping in here and there. But, on a Saturday, everybody's probably busy, got stuff to do, maybe at the pool. I've got kids, they're getting ready for school. So people are out back to school shopping for clothes and supplies and all that stuff where they're trying to go swim and do those last minute things, maybe go on vacation, all that good stuff. So fully understandable today if I'm kind of just talking to the void out there. I totally get it. But for anybody that does jump in, or if you're listening on a replay, just pop in, leave a comment. Son of a Crayon Slayer is here. He says, "Hey, now, what's going on?" Going to get into a few stories here, and also too. Speaking of speaking of Star Wars news, they do have a video game that's coming out, and I'm going to bring up some info about that too. It's called Star Wars Outlaws, and it is an Ubisoft production. And if you know anything about Ubisoft games, they are games where you travel around a map, you climb a tower, and you unlock a you unlock part of the map. And but this Star Wars Outlaws game by Ubisoft looks pretty cool. The graphics are a little shady, but it does look pretty cool. It does have a female pro tag, which you're playing as kind of a Han Solo type. And 3-star draw says, "What kind of crazy ass time is this?" Yeah, exactly. I kind of went over that. Yeah, last night my voice was toast. My sinuses have been bothering me. My contacts, or maybe my left eye, was bothering me, and that's why I got my glasses on right now too. And and so yeah, it's been a long week at work, busy week at work, and then yesterday, and you can tell right now my voice is a little toast as well. But last night I just wasn't feeling it, so I figured, hey, I'll go on. I threw out a little community post, which I know for a channel of this size is not going to be seen, by a lot. And I've only got about, I think I've got about 76 subscribers, maybe something like that. And so I just kind of threw out a community post yesterday and said, hey, I'm going to do it at 12:30 today Central Time or 1:30 Eastern, whatever you go by. Well, nice. And of course, speaking of kids and going back to school, my son is over here. Of course, he's over here playing Hitman 3 again. One of his favorite games to play when he's over here, and he's sneezing too. So maybe his sinuses are kicking his butt. I don't know, like mine. And so yeah, he's struggling. Man, this mic is hot, dude. I tell you, I mentioned at the top of the top of the stream, I accidentally updated my PC to Windows 11. I've been putting it off Um, Bobby Wold says, "Careful, you might get canceled. It's Hit Person." Yeah, that's true. The next game that comes out, right? It won't be Hitman anymore. It'll be Hit Person. Hit they them. 4, whatever. Uh, that's pretty good. Um, but anyway, anyway, at the top of the stream, I said, I updated to Windows 11, and the interface is so different, and I hate it actually. And so I had not dug around on it too much. When my son got over here yesterday, he actually went in and changed it back to the old interface, but it's still Windows 11, and it changes your settings. As many times as I've streamed, as many videos as or takes that I've recorded on my editing software and all that stuff, as many takes as I've done, um, every time I get on here to go stream, for some reason my settings are changed. And so for instance, like even just now when I pulled the stream up, normally when you switch everything, you put on your headphones, you get your mic set up, and then you've got everything's routed. Whenever I play any music or anything like that, it normally would come through my headphones. But when I play the music at the top of the stream, the little banner for the countdown, and then my intro, it's coming through the speakers. It's coming through the speakers from the computer. So I have no clue. I was gonna throw on a little background music here, just to see if it comes through like, on my end, right? And yeah, like I got I got nothing at all. I hate um I hate it. I hate this yeah, background music is coming through my speakers. I can't stand it. It really is frustrating. And and so when you look, it's like, okay, got everything set up, looking good. Headphones. Yeah, okay, all right. And nah, it's like, nah, you're screwed. It's like whatever you think you're doing, you are not doing. Yeah, like I just ran a test. Test is working in the headphones, but I'm not getting any I'm not getting StreamYards come through my headphones. So I can't hear any music in the background. If I play any video, I'm not gonna be able to hear it. It is I don't even know. I don't even know what to say at this point. It's so ridiculous. But anyway, so gonna try to get into it. I'll deal with it. It is what it is. I don't know what else to try to do. Let's see. I'll try one more setting. Oh, there we go. Okay. So yeah, Windows 11. Let's dig way deep into Windows 11 here. God, I hate this shit. All right. Well, hopefully, whenever you guys stream or do anything, you will much smoother than mine. If I tuned in this stream, what's happening? Oh Lord. Yeah, let's find this little background music, something cool, something lo-fi. Maybe night driving. How about that? What's night driving? Oh no. I know a couple people that might remember this little jam right here. Oh yeah. Gonna break it on down. Come on, yeah. All right. Yeah, I think I remember a little song about snake eyes. Roadblock. Duke. Oh my God. You know what? I'm going to play Feeding the Ducks. How about that? There we go. All right. Background music. Okay. Anyway, let's get into it. Enough messing around, wasting you guys' time today. Oh, good God Almighty. All right. So What topics do we have today? Yeah, 3-star draw says, oh, I remember. Got rough in Club Tarkin that night. Oh, it was Mos Eisley. That's right. Oh, goodness. All right. We'll bring up a couple stories here just for fun. We'll get our our Acolyte news out of the way. So my Hollywood is burning. Streaming numbers are way down. As a matter of fact, the only company that's actually really crushing it is Netflix. Netflix is absolutely just crushing it, and that's because they have the best shows. They're doing Cobra Kai, kicked off. That show's huge, and but companies like Paramount Plus, Disney, Peacock, they're all losing money hand over fist. And so because of that, we've seen now everybody has ads, right? Everybody has ads. It's this music is killing me. I don't even know what to say about this shit. Yeah, but everybody has ads. So no matter what tier that you decide to use, no matter how much money you pay for Amazon or whoever, you're going to get ads now. There's no way around it. It just is what it is. And it used to be the reason why you cut the cord, from cable was so you didn't have to worry about ads. You could just see whatever you want to see, flip through whatever you want to flip through, and that was the bonus. That was the reason why you wanted to get out of cable TV. And the expense of it, obviously, right? But with streaming now, streaming has become like cable TV. And then when you add up the expense, right, of the different services, bundles and whatever, I'm not saying it's as expensive as a cable package was at like $120 or whatever you may have paid for yours. But the main benefit, right, for streaming was to get out of that stuff. And now you may be paying, I don't know, you may pay upwards of 60, 70, 80 bucks for streaming. You may pay more. And if you subscribe to like Game Pass on Xbox, if you have other subscriptions too, then, those things start adding up. And then when you look at what's on TV, what's actually out there on the streaming services, a lot of it is garbage. Really, like a lot of it, and you have to sift through so much stuff to try to find. There we go. To try to find anything that's worth a shit. And so let's see what Bobby says here. Can't remember which one it is. Maybe Amazon, but they brag about enjoy these commercials before your ad-free movie. Yeah, and usually it's like a commercial for one of their shows or something like that. You're not getting a deodorant commercial or another commercial for something, something else. It's usually for one of their shows or movies or maybe that show or something like that. But nonetheless, yeah. So the whole idea was to get away from that, right? Well, we can't get away from it. We still get commercials. On top of that, a lot of the content is garbage. Are there some good shows? Yes. House of the Dragon, I think, is a really good show. However slow it may be for you. Yes, it's not Game of Thrones. However, their numbers are great. Like, Max is getting great numbers. People are tuning into that show. And it's not really dropping off. Usually you have episode 1, you have your premiere and then your second episode. And there's usually a big drop off between 1 and 2. It happens to every show, no matter how popular it is. It's very odd and unusual to have a show that continues to gain numbers like Game of Thrones did years ago, where it's like week over week over week over week. It kept getting more and more and more and more popular. And even at the end, regardless of how bad the last 2.5 seasons or so were, it still kept adding numbers. And so that show, I don't know if we'll ever see that again. Obviously, if you go back into the, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, even, but especially the 70s, 80s, cable TV was not prevalent, and therefore, you saw crazy numbers out of shows. Series finales that would get like 40 million, watching it, 30, 40 million people, or well more than that. News broadcasts like Walter Cronkite on CBS News or something like that. Tom Brokaw, Ted Koppel, whatever it was. You're never going to see those numbers again because everything is splintered now. And it really makes me kind of wish for those days again in a way, because I think what happens is you had fewer programs, which means that you had to, as a network executive, be more mindful. You had to be more selective in what you put on television. I think that you had a show, it had 24 episodes. And so you had to really be very selective about what it was that you made. Now that there's so much content out there and there's so much money being spent, then you can make anything. And some people might say, like music today, even, you might say, well, that's better for everybody. That just means that you can have whatever you want to find that's for you. It could be whatever suits your tastes. And that's where you can get into all the gender and identity politics and all that bullshit. But yes, okay, that's fine. You can spend $12 million making a 8-episode show on Amazon that's about, queer people. Okay. That's great. But number one, if it's not any good, then how many of those people who fit that demographic are going to watch it? They may watch 1 or 2 episodes and realize it's shit. But then out of that demographic, how many people don't even really watch stuff like that? They don't care. It's not like they feel represented. They don't need to see themselves on a TV show to feel self-importance. So then how many of those people don't watch? And then out of all those people, there's a natural drop off over the course of a few episodes. And then out of those people, there's a drop off because it's not any good, or they think, characters are dumb or whatever reason. So when you think about it, you start breaking the numbers down. You have all these shows chasing all these different audiences. Most people aren't tuning in to watch these shows. So you have, hundreds of millions or billions, whatever it is in Hollywood, of dollars being spent on all this content that nobody's watching. And when you had 3 networks or 4 networks, you really had to make sure that a show, if you're going to spend the money as a network on a show, on a cast, on the writing team, you had to make sure it was going to pay off. Now, I don't know if you guys ever do this, but Paul Chato has a really cool channel. He used to be a network executive. He's also a comedian, and he's in Canada. I want to say hey to Wraith Mace too. What's going on? Nice Saturday. Yeah, it's a little hot around my part of town, and I'm glad to be indoors and also keeping my sinuses away from all this crap. Good to see you, man. So anyway, Paul Chato, Chato, good channel. He'll do like a TV guide, or he'll do shows from 1981, 1978, and he'll go down a list of shows that were coming out, like the fall TV guide. I don't know if you guys remember that too. I'm sure a lot of you do. We're all mostly in the same age bracket, but TV guide would put out a fall upcoming show guide every year. And so what he does is he'll go through that and he'll look through and see like the new shows that are coming out, the new shows that were coming out every fall. And then you'd see ones that got canceled. He would look up the history for each one. So he'd kind of read about it. Then he'd kind of tell you it went on to earn, nominations and, all this other stuff, daytime Emmys, whatever it was. And it's actually very interesting because, yes, there were a ton of shows back in the day when there were only 3 networks. Ton of shows that got canceled, ton of stuff that didn't work out, lots of garbage, lots of money being spent on shows that looked like or had a premise and they didn't work out because people didn't like it, or it wasn't any good, or the actors didn't convey across the way that it was supposed to. My point is there's always been bad TV. There's always been bad movies. But back in the day, they had to be a lot more selective about what they spent and whether or not it was going to pay off. And I know a lot gets made these days about how Amazon, they killed a show after one season. Well, in network television, they'd kill a show after 3 episodes. They'd take a show off the air after 5 episodes. If it wasn't any good, they'd get a pilot. You'd shoot, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 pilots, 15 pilots, and you might green light 3 shows out of those 15 pilots. But yeah, they weren't afraid to yank a show off the air. If it aired and it was shit, they'd take it off the air after 3 or 4 episodes, and then you'd never hear from it again. That used to happen all the time. So it's nothing new, nothing new now when you hear people say, "Oh, we really love that show," and it didn't get any ratings, and it got yanked. It had only 1 season. Chances are it wasn't performing, or it was too expensive to make. There is one show, and I don't know, maybe you guys remember this, but there was a show called Merlin that came out, and I think it was an Amazon show. I think. But it was called Merlin, if I remember right. And it was 1 season. And I actually thought it was all right. But it got canceled after 1 season. And that's probably the last time I remember being like, man, I wish they'd have kept that show going. It kind of ended on a cliffhanger. But most of the stuff they cancel now, there's a reason why. And it's not worth a shit. So when it comes to Hollywood, lots of money being spent. However, we could go back and talk about the strike that happened last year, right? I'm sure maybe you guys remember reading a little bit about it. I don't blame you for not keeping up with it, because here's the reality. You got a bunch of adult pretenders on TV and in movies, and they're all richer than you and I. And, they're bitching about, work in Hollywood. And what happened after the strike is now there's even less shows in production. There's less acting jobs. Companies are not making the money, so they're not making as much product. Therefore, there's not as much money being spent, not as many jobs. But that also means there's not as many jobs for the under-the-line people, like the carpenters or the set people or the craft foods or the trailers or the people who carry the equipment or roll the cords out. And I mean, there's so much, people that hold the microphones, do the lighting. Those people aren't working either. So right now, Hollywood is in a really weird place because there's not as much stuff being made. A lot of people not working. A lot of writers, because the writers strike, not getting hired after they, were striking, wanting full-time pay and full benefits and 10 people writers' rooms on a show that only has 6 episodes, all this crazy stuff that they were asking for. And, a job like that, it's a creative job. It's an artistic job. And therefore, only the strong survive, only the good writers write. And so to guarantee somebody who is not good a guaranteed wage, there's not many industries that do that. So to guarantee somebody full pay and full benefits and all this stuff, because they get hired to write like 1 or 2 episodes of an 8-episode show, just doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's not financially viable, for these companies. So nonetheless, Hollywood is in a really weird place, and I think we're going to start to see a lot more independent stuff coming out when it comes to movies. I would like to think you're going to start seeing smaller budgets. You look at a show like The Acolyte that got $180 million, and then you wonder where the money went. And just to give you an idea, especially just to give you an idea, I want to bring up this article too. So this article is just, it's so Look at the lightsabers in this picture, and look how fake they look. Like they look really thick. That she said. But look at the handles too. Like, look how thick they are. There's one scene in that show where one of the girls, well, it doesn't matter which one, who gives a shit, but one of the girls, the twins, is holding a lightsaber, and like her hand doesn't even fit around the hilt. I mean, but they're using these big things because what they want to be able to do is sell them at the Disney, at that stupid Star Wars land they have that's not doing very well. And Eric Thurman says lots of unemployment in Hollywood right now. Yes, exactly. And good to see you, Eric. Yeah. So, but if you look at this though, I mean, seriously, like this is, it looks terrible. I mean, it just looks terrible. And when you look at the lightsaber combat, they don't do any like post-production. Now they may add light flourishes and stuff like that, but they don't do any rotoscoping, none of the stuff they used to do. And while I get it, they create these big, I mean, they're basically just like ones that you could buy, like the Force FX lightsabers. That's basically what these are. And they use them on set, but they just look odd. And when you watch the shows, it looks like, you know, two people clacking together a couple of these, you know, and I don't think this thing's going to turn on because it probably didn't have any. Oh, it looks like these things right here, you know. I mean, but the hilt on this one, if you look at it, the hilt on this thing is like way smaller, you know. You can get your hand around it, but and so yeah, I know this one is not as carefully crafted. You know, this doesn't look like Obi-Wan's or whomever, who gives a shit. But this is basically what they're using in Hollywood right now, and for these Star Wars shows, and it looks goofy. But like I said, you give a show like this $180 million, and then you wonder where did the money go? And truly, like, where did the money go? You know, they reused set scenes or sets, sound stages, you know, very obvious. And nope, Son of a Crayon Slayer is back. Yeah, man, you guys drop in and out, watch other streams. There's other stuff going on, man. Y'all just pop in and out, whatever you want to do. I know it's a Saturday, so I don't expect anybody to sit here and listen to me ramble the entire time. But anyway, so, but this article here, and if you guys didn't see this show, and I can understand because most people are not watching this show. God, I hate ads on websites now. It's just brutal. So, Leslie Headland, Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, she's the showrunner, and she said that they believe that these final fight scene from the Acolyte rivals the Matrix and Phantom Menace. It's fascinating to me that she, you know, was there a decent fight scene in the final episode? Yeah, there was one, but it even still had a lot of wire work and weird shit going on. And so, but there were interesting moments in it. Now, the episode itself is nonsensical and just ridiculous. However, with the fight scenes, then you had one between the two twins, and it's just awful. Then you had one between the Squid Game guy and Smilo Ren, and that one was okay. But anyway, so nonetheless, I'll give you the little quote here that Leslie Headland says. She's talking about the creative process, and she says that she told Collider, her and the second unit director, Chris Cowan, were shooting for immortality. She's like, we are fucking going for it. We want to top Duel of Fates. We want to top the train station in the Matrix. We will settle for nothing less. I'll leave it up to the viewer as to whether or not we achieved that. But in my heart of hearts, I was like, we achieved that as far as I'm concerned. No, no, they did not. Are you serious? The train sequence in the Matrix? Are you telling me that this fight scene was like the train sequence in the Matrix? I mean, look, I get it. I get where you are going to tell a mag, hey, we really wanted, we believe in this show, we believe it's great, we believe in what we did. Of course you're going to say that. I get it. I'm not stupid. But at the same token, like let's not kid ourselves. Okay? Like no, the fight scene, no. Just don't even go there. Just say, hey, we're really proud of what we did, and we really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to shoot, and the actors did a great job doing it. But don't even make comparisons, right? Like seriously, it doesn't do anybody any good. And when people read stuff like this, they know, they see right through it. It's bullshit. But like I said earlier too, is that because this is a prequel, they're able to go in and say, well, we had the first force choke. This episode is also the reason why the Jedi didn't want to train Anakin, because they learned about these two twins, right? And they were created a virgins in the Force. But again, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, Anakin was created by the Force as a way to combat Darth Plagueis using dark side energy to try to create life. And through his failed attempts, the Force, as a rebuttal to his attempts, created Anakin. Okay? But when they say these twins were created by this woman, then they're trying to say that they're the first ones to do it, but they don't even really understand how it actually worked in the first place. But also, Headland was talking about that originally the show did not have any Sith in it. And then they decided that, they wanted to bring in the Sith. Then they wanted to bring in Darth Plagueis. And that was something else that, with this show that they wanted to bring in. So the first on-screen appearance of Darth Plagueis, and if you remember in episode 3, the opera scene, when Sidious is, Palpatine's talking to Anakin, and he tells him about Darth Plagueis the Wise, and he talks about him trying to, create life, but also, save people from death. And it's a really great scene in that movie, one of the best scenes in that movie. And now we learn in this most recent episode that Plagueis was lurking all along in the background. And now he learned he was inspired by the witches, the lesbian space witches, to learn how to create life. That's where he got the idea from. And so when you go back and you prequel this stuff and you retcon it, so now it's girl did it first, right? Girl did it first. Can't have no man being the first one. It's got to be, space witches. They're the first ones. This most recent episode, yes, Eric Thurman, it is delusional. And I agree. It's like the set did come from Ollie's. All the consoles too, or all the unsold Star Wars merch. But also, in that show, and a lot of these shows too, man, they have consoles and buttons that do stuff that don't make sense, or they don't explain anything at all, and they don't have to explain it through words. It's a matter of visual storytelling. You don't have to tell everything, but when you set things up and you have payoff for that, then the viewer, you get the information that you need. But when they don't set anything up and then all of a sudden throw something at you, it just comes across as weird, and look, the space witches, like, I liked the Night Sisters, because I thought the Night Sisters was a cool thing, but the Night Sisters were not, try. There's just differences between the two. And I think that, if you watch the Clone Wars, I don't think they were trying to prop up the Night Sisters as like Force users. They used magic. They didn't tap into the Force. They created Maul and his brother, but it's like two totally different types of tribes. And that agenda was not really being pressed with the Night Sisters. I thought they were cool. I liked the look. It's where Asajj Ventress comes from, and I thought Ventress was a cool character. Now, they went and kind of jacked all that up recently in the Ahsoka and then oh my god, sorry, I was reading something there. This stuff just really, some of the stuff that I read and hear about this show and the showrunner, like, here we go again. I'll show you guys this. It's so ridiculous. So actually, you know what? Let me see if I can just I guess it doesn't really matter. All right. So here's another article where Leslie Headland talks about the reason fans are thirsty for Quamir, which is Smilo Ren, is because he flips classic gender tropes of hypersexualization. It's why? What does it have to do? If people think he's a good-looking guy, okay, what does it have to do with flipping classic gender tropes of hypersexualization? Like, that whole phrase just sounds so stupid. It's either dude's hot or not. I don't even really know what else there is to say about that. That's kind of the way that you would look at it. I will tell you, throughout the show, he was probably one of the better actors, because even Squid Game guy, he couldn't speak English. And it probably was sounded phonetically to him. Okay, so here it is. This is what she says. The stranger flips classic gender tropes of hypersexualization, but a true sex symbol is someone who resonates emotionally with fans. Manny, his name is Manny Jacinto. He's the guy that played Smilo Ren. Manny's magnetism is rooted in his acting, not just his physique. His ability to access vulnerability, empathy, and longing is very compelling. Okay, I mean, that makes sense, right? But yes, Eric, I agree. Like, the word salad is, flip classic gender tropes of hypersexualization. Like, it doesn't even come out right. That's a lot to say about just to say that somebody's like good looking. Now, of course, here's the deal. You can't flip that around on the woman, though. You can't say like she's hot, right? Because that's misogynistic. You're not supposed to be able to say that these days. Now, was his arms that big? See how big those arms are right there? Holy crap. Were his arms that large? I don't remember. Maybe they were. I know that, yeah, I guess they are. Yeah, he's jacked. Of course, they did have the one scene where this chick right here, or I don't know, that one, whichever one, it doesn't matter, was like peering out at him as he was naked in his pool, like his little shallow pool he was bathing in or swimming in, and she's like peeping around the corner, and it even says like she has a predatory gaze. If you watch this show, I encourage you to watch it with like the captions on, but also the digital, or the for those that are blind, then you have the audio description. That's what it is, the audio description. And the audio description is really funny because it has some of the most hilarious phrases, and it's an AI voice, but it's so funny in several scenes of this show. Let's see here. Bobby Wold says, when are we going to start getting good spoof movies again? I want to see somebody spoof this series. That would be great. The green alien chick, Master Vanestra, one of the worst actors in the show. Truly one of the worst actors in the show. It's Leslie Headland's wife. Yes, if you want to talk about nepo baby shit, she is literally in the show. So also, I'll tell you guys this real quick. They didn't cast half the show. So the girl, Amanda Stenberg, the star who plays the two twins, she didn't have to audition. She didn't have to audition at all. She and yes, she does have a great turd cutter. I agree, Eric Thurman, 100%. Her diss track is stupid, but look, she's got a great body. Good looking woman. I ain't gonna argue with that. But yeah, so the people, they weren't even cast. They didn't have to audition. Like, they were cast, so to speak, but they were already handpicked. Headland said she saw Amanda Stenberg or whatever, the lead actress. She saw her and knew she was right for the part. And this is like a few years ago. So she didn't have to audition. And what's really funny about it is that she can't act. Like, she can't act. It's let's see. I'll see if I can find this meme real quick. But like, yeah, she can't act. She has the same facial expression for everything, and I mean everything. Okay, so check this out. The many emotions of Amanda Stenberg. It's the same face. It's the same face for every single one. Like, and when you watch the show, that's exactly what it is. It's the same face for every scene. As a matter of fact, to give her emotion, they had to have her scream. Like in this last episode, she has like these screams that she does, just these awful, and that's to show she's upset, she's mad. So nonetheless, so she didn't have to audition. She's terrible. But also this guy, right? They had him picked out. They had Squid Game guy picked out. It's probably because, hey, you're on Squid Game. Awesome. That's, we got to have that guy. But he couldn't speak English. And so what they probably did is phonetically sound out the parts for him. And then he would just copy those parts and act them out. Now, up until the last couple episodes, he was one of the better parts of the show too. But this guy right here that played Smilo Ren, he actually was probably the best actor on the show. And in a way, it's kind of a shame that he ended up, having to be on this show. But hopefully for him, he'll be able to actually go on and maybe do some stuff. Amanda Stenberg, why anybody would cast her in anything, I don't know. I truly do not know. Yeah, I agree. 3-star dude did have one face also, but I think for what his part was, it kind of fits for him. But for the main star of the show, she's playing two different sisters. So you'd think that maybe they would be able to have her emote, and they're two different girls. Remember, 16 years had passed. So they were both trained by different people. They both grew up around different people, right? So they wouldn't be the same. They wouldn't act the same, but they literally are, each character is the same. And so, yeah, it's really, I don't know. It's weird that they didn't even go through a casting, audition process. And you know what? Anakin in the prequels, and see, here's the other part about that too. He was told to play the part that way. He tried to actually do it differently, Hayden Christensen. But that's the way George directed him. And the thing about George is that he's really not good with actors. Going all the way back to the original trilogy. He's really not good with dialogue, but he's also really not good with actors and directing. And it shows, because the best movies, the better ones anyway, were the ones that were directed by somebody else. But yeah, and I'm sure this guy was told in this series to probably was directed that way, with the same show, same face expressions. But let's say this chick right here, let's say that she, I don't think it doesn't matter what direction you get. I just don't think she's very good at all. I can see the potential with this guy, right? And then with Squid Game guy too, with him, it's like if you watch anything with him that's in, was it South Korea, I think, anything that has him in it, if he's in his native language, it's probably really good, because he was fascinating and he was a great character in Squid Game. But, having him try to speak English, I mean, it just does a disservice. It does a disservice. I know the guy, you think, oh, we got to get this guy. He's hot, and he's somebody that we, would love to have. But just because of that, it doesn't necessarily make it a good show. And let's say Bobby Wold says he might not be good with actors, but he knows how to make them train in fencing. So Nick Gillard is the guy that especially in the prequels trained the Obi-Wan and Anakin and Dooku, so Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. Nick Gillard is the guy that actually trained them in those 3 movies, was on the set for those 3 movies. And he's the one that came up with all the choreography. And there's something interesting that Nick Gillard said, and maybe you guys might agree, maybe you won't. But if you watch a lot of modern shows, and especially this, especially with this show in particular, though, it has a lot of that like really quick fight scene stuff, that kung fu stuff where they're blocking and all that shit, kind of like the Matrix, which doesn't make sense in the Star Wars. I don't think. I mean, sure, it's a fighting style, but what happens is, and Nick Gillard was saying this. He was on Star Wars Theories channel. He kind of interviewed him, or they kind of chatted, walked around, and he was saying that a lot of times they'll hire people who are to train or choreograph the fights, who are really masters in this specific type of fighting, jiu-jitsu or whatever it is. And so they'll want it to be very true to that type of fighting. But what he was saying is that it doesn't always look good on camera, and it doesn't look good to the eye. So the way that he would actually train the actors, like in the prequels, was that what looked good on camera, what looked cool. The Anakin where he drops the lightsaber down, that lightsaber spin and turn and grab it, or behind the back that he does, like all that stuff, he came up with all that stuff. So to him, it's like what looks cool on camera, whereas you get someone who is a professional, fight choreographer in this specific style and all that, but it doesn't necessarily translate to the screen, and it doesn't necessarily always look cool. It might be technically correct within that type of fighting style, but it doesn't necessarily translate. And I get that, I think that so the Rosario Dawson fight with Hayden Christensen, Bobby, was more Rosario than Hayden, I think. And of course, again, you've got somebody different directing that, right? But in Ahsoka, Rosario Dawson, I mean, good God, they should have sped up her film. Like they should have done something, because watching her run and watching her, with her style and everything, it was so slow. And so for people that are professional fight, choreographers or fencing specialists or people that know sword play, and they go back and watch a lot of this stuff, they see all these different openings where somebody could be killed. And multiple times in this show, it's the same way. There's many, many instances where, and they do it in a lot of these. They did it in the sequel trilogies, in the Rey movie with the throne fight scene with Snoke. There's like guys spinning swords in the background and spinning around and doing dance moves and weird shit that they'd never be doing if you were fighting somebody, and or coming in at weird angles, or like or swinging at a part that's blocked for some reason but not going for an unblocked part. Like there's a lot of different ways, and some of these fight scenes in this show have been looked at to death. Some of them just don't make any sense, and then within the context of the show, there's somebody that's killing all these Jedi, and then there's multiple times people have a lightsaber at their neck, and then just for whatever reason choose not to strike. And then something happens, obviously, right? It's a trope. But like there's many times where you have the motivation of a character and they should kill this person, and for some reason they just don't. It's the weirdest thing. It actually saves a lot of lives in this show. Saves a lot of lives. But anyway, so the main thing though, really, as far as I'll say about the Acolyte, and then I'm gonna leave it alone, is that it's not getting numbers. No one's watching it. No one's watching it at all. And it kind of goes back to what I was talking about at the top, where there's a lot of money being spent in Hollywood, and yet no one is watching these shows. So they're spending all this money for nothing, and this show is no different. So this is again on CBR.com, and this is talking about the series finale, and they're saying, look, it has solid viewership numbers. It's not even in the top 10. So if you look at the Nielsen ratings, they give you the top 10, and this show is out of the top 10. So right now you can't even see the numbers for this show. You have no idea. And then it says it has solid viewership numbers compared to other shows. It does not. Yes, they set up Yoda in the very final scene. They use the wrong puppet, though. They don't use the High Republic version of Yoda. They Darth Plagueis, yes, they set that up. And of course, they talk about review bombing, right here. Despite review bombing, the Acolyte has received mixed to positive reception. No, it hasn't. It's received mixed to negative reaction, not positive. And most creators I've seen who have done polls on their channels that are getting like 20,000 votes, 30,000 votes, 60 to 70% of the people responding haven't even watched the show. So it's not even, yes, now the other higher percentages are people that don't like it. But the highest percentage on all the people I watch that keep up with this stuff, that have done polls on their channels that get, 20,000 votes, that's a lot of votes. That's a good section of people. And these are people who are either, depending on the channel, are either pro Disney Star Wars, anti Disney Star Wars, or for some of them, just kind of fall in the middle. They're casual fans. They don't pay attention to all the identity politics stuff. And people aren't watching. They're apathetic to Star Wars. People don't even think anything of Star Wars right now. Most people. It's not interesting to them. So, it's they talk about it getting, good numbers, viewership numbers, one of the biggest factors contributing to a series renewal. So they're talking about trying to do season 2, maybe even season 3. I know Headland wants 3 seasons, maybe. I don't know how, considering this show could not even show up in the top 10 of viewing for like mainly the entire season. I I just don't know how. And actually, there's no confirmation on this, by the way, just so you understand. Okay, number one, the best show that they've done so far was Andor. The best writing was Andor. Was it a slow burn? Yes, but it is the best, top to bottom, the best show they've done since they bought Star Wars. The writing, the person in charge of it is with, who did Rogue One. You've got, it makes sense. It is a very good show, and it is episode to episode. It has some good visuals, but it is a good show, and it is very well written. It's the best one they've done, period. Like, hands down, I'm telling you. But this thing right here, it says, despite the low viewership, Andor still received a second season order, so the Acolyte should follow suit with its stronger numbers and intention for more. So here's the difference, though. The parent analytics that a lot of these companies try to use, like social media, people retweeting, talking about the show, using Twitter or X or whatever, Facebook, Google searches, all this stuff. They compile all this data. And then they take it all and they say, well, this show's a success because people are talking about it. Well, that's not true. That's just not true. They're talking about it, but they're dogging it. So that's not a success. Like that's not a success. That's not what deems a show a success. And if they do a second season of The Acolyte and then they start to put in Yoda knowing about all this, there is no way in the world I trust anybody right now to do any of this lore, like any of this stuff right. And especially this woman, Leslie Headland. Like, I don't trust her at all with anything. And all they're going to do is just jack everything up. And I love it. This is such a, you can tell these people, whoever wrote this article, just the shilling just doesn't stop. Darth Plagueis was first mentioned in Revenge of the Sith and later received a Legends novel detailing his backstory. The Acolyte creator is a noted fan of Star Wars Legends stories. Now, Legends is the canon that they got rid of, right? So when Disney bought Star Wars, they waved their hand. They said everything that's been written, anything that's not in the movies is non-canon. So, and they did that because they can cherry pick what they want and then they can bastardize it. And that's what they've done here. That's what they've done with Plagueis. That's what they've done with Thrawn. And so yeah, it's the ability for them to now mold it into whatever they want it to be. It's goofy. For them to greenlight a second season of this show, I don't know how it gets done. I mean, even in the final episode, you have a force mind wipe. Milo Ren mind wiped this girl. 16 years of her mind gone. So would she be like an 8-year-old girl? Would she talk like an 8-year-old girl? Or a 10-year-old girl? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, it's goofy. And it's terribly shown. So we have the first force mind wipe. We have the first force choke. We have the first force birth. Twins, but it's the same person. They're not even twins. They're both one person split into two. I mean, all of it is not, there's nothing exciting about all of it. Is there a premise in there somewhere? Yes. Done by better people. Could have been good. Despite the review bombing, the reception has been positive. That's right. Highest rated live action Star Wars shows on Rotten Tomatoes. The Mandalorian season 3, 85%, which was garbage. That's number 5. Number 4, The Acolyte at 81%. Okay, where? Who? They got rid of the percentage score, the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes because it was like 13%. And you go on there now, it's gone. They just took it off. So where are they getting their information from? 81%? What is that? Critics? Is that critic score? See, this is misleading stuff because they don't even tell you. They don't even give you the information. So let's say you're a normie and you're just, oh, let me look this up. And you start reading this article. This is misleading information. It's totally, it's stuff like this. This is why people who do actually know, this is what gives the media such a bad name, because you look at this and it's obvious they're shaping this story. You know, they're shaping this story into what they want somebody to see. And I know it happens all the time, but, and then Andor season 1, 96%. Now, as far as Rotten Tomatoes is concerned, I don't know what the audience score with Andor is. I assume it's pretty high. And the critic score maybe is pretty high. You know, Eric Thurman says if they fire her, can they save the show? No. I mean, the damage is done. I don't know what you could do. You introduce Plagueis, they're going to fuck that up. Whether it's Filoni, whether it's, you know, Kennedy, whether it's Hedlund, it doesn't matter. Like they're going to mess that up. You know, they're going to really ruin it for a lot of people. And this again here. So here's another. This is Kathleen Kennedy, and this is a quote from her on dealing with negative reception from Star Wars fans. Right before that, it talks about how the Acolyte has become the most divisive Star Wars project since The Last Jedi. And a fair amount of that negativity has come from review bombing. Again, it hasn't. It's come from people who have voiced their opinion to talk about how it sucks. So Kathleen Kennedy says, operating within these giant franchises now, with social media and the level of exception, it's terrifying. Is it terrifying? Is terrifying walking down a bad neighborhood to go catch the bus and go to work, and you might get mugged or held up, you know, for your paycheck, or you live in a housing project? Is that terrifying? Or is it terrifying that these people, these adult pretenders and directors and stuff are in Hollywood and there's social media? Is that terrifying? You know, you tell me. The way these people talk, they're so out of touch. I think Leslie has struggled a little bit with it. I think a lot of the women who step into Star Wars struggle with this a bit more because of the fan base being so male dominated. They sometimes get attacked in ways that can be quite personal. Anyone online can get attacked for doing something and feel that it's personal, right? So these people are no exception. They're not the only people. And honestly, because Disney has tried so hard to force Star Wars to be a female brand the last decade, yeah, the male fans who have been shit on and told that they're toxic and they're pieces of shit, this isn't made for you. The shows depict the men as bumbling idiots. As a matter of fact, at the very end of the Acolyte, there's a sentence that the green bitch uses, and she says that, you know, Saul was these were the actions of one flawed man. And what's worse is they frame him. He's dead, so he can't even defend himself. They frame this guy for saving this girl, say he's the one that is killing everybody. They pin it on him when he was totally in the right. And then they say he was a flawed man at the end. Like, that's what they think about you. That's what they think about me. That's what they think about all of the fans of Star Wars that are men. They think that we're all toxic. And then they make shows like this and they shove this shit down your throat. And because you don't like it, you're the problem. Right? It's ridiculous. Yeah, Eric Thurman, you know, women have no idea how to accept accountability. And I'm not saying all women. I'm just saying that you see it time and time again within this Hollywood sphere where they talk about, oh, it's so difficult for a woman to step into. There's never been a strong female lead in Star Wars. This is the first time we've seen a strong female lead, right? It is the first time, evidently, that we have a woman of color, non-binary person in a lead of a Star Wars show, and they're more than happy to promote that. That's for sure. But it's just, it all comes across like so crass and so better than you are. You know, we're better than you are. Women who step into this really, you know, they have such a hard time. It's terrifying. They're shaken to the core at some of the comments on social media. It's just so bad. Yeah, this show does not have some of the best lightsaber action the franchise has seen since the prequel. It's just, get out of here. Anyway, if they renew this shit for another season, it's going to get the same numbers. It's going to get the same conversation. It's shit. No one's going to watch it. And why would they? I've told everybody I've come across at my bar, I'm like, you stay far away from that show. Like, you stay far, far, far away from that show. It's brutal. So let's see here. Let me get another song in here. Let's mix it up a little bit. I don't even know what I've got going on. There we go. Let's see what we got. All right, what else do I want to share with you guys real quick? Oh, y'all might be interested in this. I read this story yesterday. You guys may know about this. I did not know about this. This is about Larry Hama. He shared that health issues are going to make him incapable of drawing within the next few years. This was posted July 16th on Bounding into Comics. And let's see here. Turn this down just a little bit. There we go. Yeah, it's grooving, baby. All right. So anyway, Larry Hama reveals health issues will likely leave him incapable of drawing within the next few years. Get rid of some of these stupid ads. In an admittedly heartbreaking reminder of life's fleeting nature, noted G.I. Joe comic book creator Larry Hama is currently speculating that due to his health issues, he will likely be rendered physically unable to draw sometime within the next few years. There's issue 21. So next few years, I don't really know what that means. Let's see if they expound on that a little bit. Anyway, and also anybody that may be checking this out or watching the replay, hit the like button if you like what you hear or see or whatever. I don't know how you couldn't like what you see, but yeah, hit the like button if you can. The old friendly reminder. Definitely a little different energy on today's stream. For me, being a little not under the weather, but voice is just toast, man. Let's see. A long-term veteran of the industry, Hama's sequential art career seen him in the range seen him a range of creative comic book roles. Best known for Avengers Volume 1, Batman Volume 1, and obviously, Peter Porker. Spectacular Spider-Ham Volume 1. But yes, G.I. Joe obviously is where we all know. And actually, nice. Little ass whooping right there, huh? Looks good. But yeah, he said that basically July 9th, he made a post on his Facebook page and said that macular degeneration, which is a degenerative eye disease. You may know somebody that has it, maybe not. He said, I'll probably be incapable of drawing within the next few years. So if you want to sketch, you better act soon. So his original post is actually right here. And he says, I have macular degeneration. I'll probably be incapable of drawing in the next few years. Also, my arthritis may make everything moot before then. I have no ligaments left in my basal thumb joints. It's just bone scraping against bone there. Drawing is actually quite painful, but not as painful as signing my signature. So if you want to see him or get something signed, or you want a sketch, or you want one of those personal items from a legendary comic artist, then you probably should try to get on it. And I would say, since he made that post, he said that he found himself flooded with requests for his services. Then he had to kind of clarify the process through which a fan could obtain a commission. So let's see what that says. I'm getting bombarded with commission requests. I don't do commissions through the mail. I do pencil sketches, but only at cons. There are many comic shops these days that have facilitators who take customers' comics to cons to have them signed and or graded. If you can't get to a con, ask your local shop if they provide that service. Well, considering many of those shops are shutting down now, then I'd say it's even harder for people. It says, met by the subsequent observation from a fan that I guess nobody listened to the part about how much it hurts. Hama asserted that drawing is what I do. Yes, it hurts, but that's the price. Like boxers and ballet dancers, accept the pain. It comes with the territory. Yeah, that's life, right? You know, that's somebody who knows what's up. It is what it is. You can't get around it. And eventually you get to the point where you can't beat it. You get old. Getting old sucks. Yeah, that was where is that? Eric Thurman is that Destro doing a split kick? No, it's actually a character. It was Bucky O'Hare, Bobby O'Hare. Was that Bucky O'Hare? That's right. That's who that is, isn't it? Maybe not. I don't know who the hell that is. No. It's is that the Nth Man, actually, the Ultimate Ninja? Bucky O'Hare. He's a little rabbit dude or whatever. So let's see here. Also, at current, in addition to his commission work, Hama is preparing to launch a Kickstarter campaign for his new comic, Mounties versus Werewolves. Okay, little Canadian joint. I'm sure people behind the scene, you know, are in the know of this and have known this for a while. You know, wow, Silent Interlude, 1983 was a long time ago. And hell, he was probably in his 40s then, right? Or 30s, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, getting old sucks. It just does. Ain't no two ways about it, friends. It just sucks. It's like takes you longer to get out of bed. You gotta creak your way around the freaking house. Let's cover a few other stories here. How about we look at what's going on with the MCU, otherwise maybe known as the MCU to you, has turned into the MCU in the most recent of years. Say Bobby Wold says, is it Ron Rudat and Larry Hama working on a project together, comic and figures project, Operation Recall? I don't know. It didn't mention that in that article. Just the Mounties versus Werewolves comic that's Kickstarter he's doing with a IDW artist, I think. Was the only thing I saw in that article, actually. Now, for those of you that are MCU fans, this will probably be great news to you, because Marvel shocker, Russo brothers in talks to direct next 2 Avengers movies. Now, unfortunately, because they killed Tony Stark and Captain America and they won't recast them, we're down to getting the B Avengers. They've introduced so many of these B-level characters, and then they've used identity politics to promote their shit that people don't care, right? Like, and I think once Kevin Feige became like the end all be all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's when things really started to go downhill. But when you had different directors directing these movies, like the Russo brothers, um, and Favreau and some others, James Gunn, when they were in charge and could really do what they needed to do and connect these movies together, that's when it was at its height. But when Kevin Feige became kind of the end all be all, that's when the movies started to suffer. Nonetheless, the Russo brothers in early talks to return to Marvel Studios to direct not one, but maybe the next two Avengers movies. It would be a good idea. They, I guess their names were thrown in the bag because other names, such as the Deadpool and Wolverine director, is also in talks, possibly. Uh, that movie's probably going to be a blast. Especially for those of you who have wanted to see Hugh Jackman in the Wolverine costume. And it's funny because I was watching an interview yesterday he had with Ryan Reynolds, and he was talking about, he put the costume on, he stepped out, on the set. And he was like, I can't believe that we didn't do this the whole time. Like this should have been the costume that he was wearing the entire time. But back in in 2000, the look was the Matrix, right? It was all black. It was black suits and black leather and all that stuff. And they didn't want any of the Technicolor stuff. They thought that no one would buy into the movies if these characters were in their original costumes and all that shit. Of course, the MCU and everything that happened with that proved all of that to be hogwash. So it's a shame that you're finally getting Wolverine, who, in a movie wearing his actual outfit, which I think was the only way they could have done it. But you're automatically going to get more people on board by doing that. And so there's people that even with the Deadpool part of it, there's still people that want to go see it because they're like, man, I want to see that costume. But anyway, so yeah, the Russo brothers may be coming back. They haven't had any hits really since they left the MCU. Really rough stuff for Apple and Netflix. The Citadel that was got a lot of money spent on that. The Russo brothers directed. It was brutal. Extraction probably being the best of what they've done. Now they did produce the Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was also a acclaimed movie. But overall, not a lot there on their plate after they left Endgame. The fifth Avengers movie was previously titled Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. Of course, we know why. We know why it's not anymore. Yeah, Shang-Chi, they had that director was going to work on the Kang Dynasty, but he left actually, like it says, a month before Jonathan Majors got convicted of his crap. The Secret Wars is a storyline the Russos have long talked about wanting to adapt. The thing of it is they're comic fans, they get on very well. Obviously, as brothers, they have a connection there. And I'd say probably when you're creating and you're brainstorming and stuff like that, you're probably coming up with some cool stuff for each other. And if you both read the comics and you're both that's what they've been missing. That is what the MCU has been missing, is people who care about the material. They started bringing in directors who are best known for documentaries. They started being, we've got to hire a female director, and she's got to be the first female Asian director, non-binary lesbian ever in history to direct this film. And it turns out to be like, the worst piece of shit. And it's like, wonder how that happened. It's just stuff like that, right? When you use a checkbox to make your decisions rather than the best people for the job, you find out that a lot of times it doesn't turn out as the way they usually want it to. And it's interesting. You wonder why. Well, we know why. It's because it's fake. It's fake bullshit. Uh, yeah, Doctor Doom's a cool character, and I hope that they do. I hope they do get him right eventually because they have cast the Fantastic Four. So we'll see if they can make a good one. Let's see what else we got. A little Ryan Reynolds news here, which I thought this was cool. I don't know the guy. He could be an asshole for all I know, but he really wanted to make this movie, and see right here, it says Ryan Reynolds says I let go of getting paid on Deadpool and took the little salary I had left to pay for the screenwriters to be on set. No part of me was thinking when Deadpool was finally greenlit that this would be a success. And I'm sure he didn't. He probably thought it was just going to be a funny little movie, cult following, all that. And of course, it ended up being like the highest grossing R-rated, comedy ever, I think. But he says that, they wouldn't even allow his co-writers on the set. So he actually paid them himself. And they could have a writer's room, on set. And you don't see that often, but, this is a case of somebody wanting to have their people in and make sure this is the best production it could be. And so I'd say he's made a lot of money. His Mint Mobile thing he invested in, he made quite a bit of money off of that. But, when you're trying to make a film and you want it to be as good as it can be, a lot of times these as much money as these companies spend, and yet they want to skimp on other stuff, right? Such as having the two screenwriters not be able to be on the set, which to me sounds really goofy, actually. Yeah, you can communicate by phone, you can communicate in other ways. I just think it's really strange to not allow the people who are writing the film not be on set during filming. Maybe you need to mix things up. Maybe you need to, change the scene. There's a lot of creativity on the set, a lot of ad-libbing. But yeah, he talks about it being a core team, and Ryan Reynolds paid out of his own money, out of his own pocket for the two guys. And that was the original Deadpool movie, right? And so they've been working on these scripts for years. So for them to be able to get on the set is super cool. And like I said, I don't know Ryan Reynolds. But I do like what he says here. I do think this is very interesting. Making this new movie, he tried to preserve the spirit of making the original, which was really good. I'm not crazy about the second movie as much, but he says necessity is the mother of invention. Yes, it is. The more constraints you place on a creative process, the more you think outside a box. So personally, I didn't want more money than we needed. We just wanted enough money to make what we set out to make, but also find ways to creatively pivot. And, look, guys made a lot of money for a lot of people. So if he wants something, he's probably going to be able to get it, But I did see where he watched the movie with his 9-year-old daughter and his mom, who's in her 70s, late 70s. And he says he watched it with, two people of completely opposite age brackets. And he said both of them were laughing their guts out. We're feeling the emotion where I most desperately hoped people would be. So, and letting a 9-year-old watch an R-rated movie, listen, man. He says, when I saw R-rated movies when I was a kid, they left a huge impression on me because I didn't feel like people were pulling punches. And, back in the day, I remember watching R-rated movies, sneaking to watch one and feeling all, like I'm getting away with something by watching an R-rated movie when I was like 10. 9, 10, spend the night at a friend's house, and you'd stay up late, parents fall asleep, they'd have cable. So, you could watch something on HBO that you probably weren't supposed to see. But you're right about he's right about the pulling punches, right? Like, you see somebody's depiction of something, it's adult. When you're a kid, all you want to be is an adult, right? So everything you see, you want that real experience. But that makes sense. But that's cool. His 9-year-old daughter and his, probably 78-year-old mom watching Deadpool and Wolverine together. It's probably pretty funny. And it sounds, so we'll see. It's July 26th, so it's coming soon, man. I'm gonna tell you what, if you go online and look, I dare say a lot of those early screenings are probably selling out. If I had to bet, it's going to be a big movie. Now, what's funny about it is that it's going to be a big movie for Fox, part of the MCU, yes, but this is not, this is Fox's property. Disney bought Fox, right? And bought the okay to make this movie, but this is still a Fox property, really, and so it'll be interesting. And we still haven't really seen any confirmation about any X-Men talk. A little bit here and there. And then I did want to show this one right here. Grown men were sobbing during Deadpool and Wolverine camera test because Hugh Jackman showed up in Wolverine's yellow suit. And Jackman says it was one of the craziest things. It was a camera test. It was before we started shooting. To see both of those guys, first of all, in costume together was just mind-blowing. Hugh walking in the yellow and blue, and there's grown men sobbing on set. Probably so. Automatic ads do not play. It's awful. Jackman said, talking about everybody wearing black leather in the first X-Men movie. And that was kind of the way it was, right? It's all those movies. Muted colors. We don't need no crazy cartoon comic book colors, right? But we've seen, obviously, people do accept it. They do like it. I mean, hell, the Daredevil movie, the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie, very muted, very dark. As soon as I put the yellow suit on, I couldn't believe I had never had before. Yeah, like once you see it, it's like, yeah, absolutely. And actually, it says here, and let's see what this says. It says it was, according to Deadpool director Sean Levy, it was Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige who told him that if Jackman were to return as Wolverine after 2017's note perfect Logan, which, yes, Logan was a great movie, and Eric Thurman said that earlier. Yeah, Logan was fantastic. It would have to be in the yellow suit. I mean, if you know what, I'll give him some credit, right? And yes, Bobby Wold, you do right by the fans, you get a better response, 100%. And if I'll say, hey, if Kevin Feige is the one that said, hey, we're going to bring this guy back, this is what he's got to wear. Hey, I'm all for it. I'll talk about you when you're bad. I'll talk about you when you're good. It says Hugh Jackman, having never appeared in the character's most iconic suit, is like being Superman in 10 movies and never wearing the Superman costume. I agree. And evidently, he said, when I realized he was in, I went from studio mode to, you got to get in the yellow outfit, right? He added. So that was cool, though. That was a cool thing about him being in the suit. And obviously, if you haven't seen the trailer, but there's a good pick right there. Solid, baby. Love it. Can't wait. July 26th. And we see a bunch of Deadpools in the movie too. A bunch of Deadpools. They got Cowboy Deadpool, Lady Deadpool, Zombie Deadpool. There's a million of them. They all show up. This is a multiverse movie now, but I'm hoping it is a multiverse movie, as in Deadpool going around and just destroying each one of them and closing this loophole of a idea down. I love it. Love for that to be the case. We shall see. Let's see here. Scooby-Doo. Xbox. Little video game news here. Be chilling on a Saturday, getting out of the heat. Xbox has decided to shutter its DEI program. It's interesting. This is right here. Xbox parent company Microsoft reportedly shutters internal DEI team. Axed employee admits such programs are no longer business critical or smart as they were in 2020. You don't say. 2020, huh? The summer of love. Yeah, the peaceful protests. Summer of love. According to a new report, a reported shift in their business operations has led Xbox parent company Microsoft to completely eliminate one of their internal diversity, equity, and inclusion teams. Good. Absolutely good. And then you look at these characters, look at these female character faces, look at the wide jaw, unattractive, chin, full armor, body armor. Here's the new Perfect Dark game. Joanna Dark looking like a bitch. Wide jaw. Thick chin, butt chin. Big nose. Very uninspiring, As revealed by Business Insider on July 15th, the unspecified DEI team was let go at the beginning of the month, with Microsoft citing changing business needs. Yep, it's all about that money. And if DEI ain't making money, guess what happens to DEI? It goes away. Yeah, man. Exactly, Eric. Eric Thurman says, they said DEI didn't exist, right? Same with CRT, right? Yeah. I'm just going to tell you guys. I'm not going to let in on a whole bunch. But I'm going to tell you something. If you got kids and you don't live in California or New York or some shit place like that, kids ain't into this stuff. Don't let the newspapers fool you. Don't let the media, don't let the what you read, don't let Facebook, don't let whatever, don't let them fool you, man. You got kids. Kids ain't into this crap. Are there some that are? Yeah, you see people more, they express themselves. They've been doing that for decades, man. Expressing themselves, coloring their hair. Now, the whole identity thing, the whole non-binary gender crap is new, but it'll go away. It's a fad. It's a phase. Most kids, go through different challenging things, and that's one day they're like, I don't know how I identify, and then 4 years later they're married and they're pregnant, and you got a grandbaby. So whatever. But my point is that kids ain't into this shit. Are there some? Yes. Most, no. They think it's stupid. Let's see. While the eliminated team members were understandably unhappy with this decision, one now former team head voiced their frustrations directly to not only Microsoft's leadership, but also to the thousands of employees who were also included in the announcement email chain. Thousands. Okay, good. Get rid of all of them. Get rid of the head of them, too. These colleges, get rid of the people you've promoted in these stupid positions. Decrying the company's supposed lack of investment in such DEI initiatives. Right. Yeah, lack of investment. No, I'd say for the last 4 years, they've invested way more money than they ever should have at the pressures of social governance money. The unidentified employee lamenting the apparent fact that true systems change work associated with DEI programs everywhere are no longer business critical or smart as they were in 2020. Yeah, they realize it. It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make money. The people it makes money for are the grifters. It's the grifters who look, if there was an end to racism, right, these people wouldn't have a grift. So they continually stir up and gaslight the racism flames so they can continue to make money. It's what they do. Most people don't care about skin color. I mean, I had somebody this past week talking about, oh, the Yahtzees that were marching downtown, and I'm like, what? All 20 people, all 20 of them walking around. Like, yeah, they're so consequential, right? Like, they make such a big difference in everything. I'm like, it's like 20 people walking around, white supremacists. It's the dumbest thing. It's like those people are inconsequential. They mean nothing. They are worth nothing. They do not factor whatsoever into people's lives, and you just ignore them. If that's what they want to do, then let them do it. Who cares? They're free to do that, right? They're free to do that. Just as people are free to paint a rainbow sidewalk at an intersection, these people are free to walk around and say whatever the hell they want, right? Like, you just ignore them because you have a life to live. It's called being more interested in your own life than other bullshit that you can't change. You're not changing people's hearts and minds. It's some of the gayest stuff I hear all the time. It says, despite the closure of this particular team, Microsoft says they're still committed to fostering diversity and inclusion within their ranks. And that's good. Look, as long as they're qualified, who cares? I think that's all anybody with a brain asks, is that if someone is qualified for a position, for promotion, then promote them. I mean, that's the reality of it. Like, I just don't know what else, I don't know what else there is to say. And 3-star draw, I went to go grab one of them pizzas. I know where you went too. You look, you didn't miss a lot. Wolverine, Deadpool, we talked, about that. Kind of getting into the DEI talk. Microsoft shut down a DEI program. Thousands of employees are going to lose their job. That's about it. You didn't miss a whole lot, man. But it says throughout 2023, both Google and Facebook began reducing their DEI investments, both internal and external, cutting their own programs, and even ending contracts with third-party consultancy agencies. Yeah, because it doesn't make them any money. They lose money. We've seen it time and time again. It just is what it is. Like, and look, man, companies are about money, making money. It doesn't mean they won't jump on a bandwagon and try stuff to look good. It won't make it look like they need to make sure that people think that they're inclusive and diverse, and that they're, diversity, and that they, they're open to any and all. They changed their logo in the month of June to the, big rainbow logo for 1 month, and they change it right back, right? Company logo goes right back to that stone cold, whatever it is, but the bottom line is money. Money drives it all. And if this shit ain't making no money, which it doesn't, because nobody believes in it, it's a bunch of garbage for race hustlers, then, they're going to change. They're going to change. Now, some of them do it quietly, which you'll see that. You read an article and then it'll say, Microsoft quietly laid off blah, 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 right? Or they quietly changed the name of this to that. But either way, bottom line is that, if it ain't making money, they don't need it. They don't want it. And it's going to change. It might take them a couple of years. It might take 3 years. But it will change. It's just the way it goes. So, yes, they can focus on diversity all they want. They can bring people in. But the bottom line is if it ain't making money, that's that. And so, yeah. And so I'm glad to see this crap, kind of starting to get phased out. Colleges, getting back to their senses, although most of them still are, way too expensive, and they're not free thinking places. They'll tell you they are, but they're not. And yes, if you bought me that rainbow G.I. Joe shirt for my birthday coming up, I can't wait to wear it during a stream, but I'm gonna have to save it for the month of June, right? It's like every stream I do in the month of June, I have to I have to wear the rainbow shirt so I can let everybody know that I stand with the LGBTQ. I stand with them. You know, you got to proclaim that, right? Got to put it on Facebook. Got to copy and paste that whole thing. You love it when people do that. They copy and paste the whole thing, and it's like, you know, this big, long, stupid thing. And at the very end, it says, copy and paste this to your profile if you stand with blah, 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 blah. I hate that stupid shit. Yes, just for that 1 month, though. That's it. And yes, when the dollars go away, it's funny how they don't support the stuff. Exactly. It's all about money. It does not matter. It's all about the money. And they tried it for a few years. These TV shows have tried it for a few years. They're finding out it is not working. It doesn't make money. And they're starting to bail on it. And they should. You know, I mean, they really should. Let's see. I also have I got a couple other stories to share with you guys. And then I'll, you know. My birthday, it's in September. It's September the 4th, actually. I'm a Virgo. Toxic Avenger. So Peter Dinklage was trying to get this Toxic Avenger film going, and hadn't been able to do it. It can't find any distribution. I think Peter Dinklage has really kind of ruined his name. I don't know if any of y'all know. Maybe you do. Maybe you've heard about it. But do you know about the Snow White movie that Disney has been shooting with Rachel Zegler in the role? You know, they did some press for it, and that Rachel Zegler got in a lot of trouble for running her fucking cocksucker about talking about how you know, the original Snow White was made in the 30s, and it's such a it's such a terrible you know, it's about a man, and Snow White doesn't need no man, and all this other bullshit. Anyway, so and so Peter Dinklage, though, when he heard they were making the Snow White movie, and he heard about the Seven Dwarfs. Now, mind you, this is an actor who made his bread and butter basically playing a very ruthless, ugly, by the books anyway, very ugly, hideous midget on Game of Thrones. Opened his fat ass mouth and basically ruined a lot of jobs for a lot of people. He made a big stink about the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs movie, and he talked about how the dwarves lived in a stinky ass cave and they were not represented properly and all this stupid bullshit. And it was so dumb because it's like, no, the dwarves are some of the most interesting characters in Snow White. And so originally they had CGI'd, and they didn't even want to call them dwarves. They called them like these woodland creatures or some bullshit like that. And so they got rid of, they didn't want to hire dwarves. They actually hired a bunch of regular people to play the role, and they called them woodland creatures. And we saw some photos pop up, original photos pop up of those creatures. Let's see if I can find it real quick. If I can find it real quick, I'll show you guys. Maybe not. But they were like traipsing through the outside, and they had these people dressed up in the. Oh, here it is. Okay. So I want to show you guys real quick. All right. So do you see this right here? This so I'm going to zoom in on this real quick. So do you see this picture right here? of these creatures. They had one dwarf, and then the rest of these people were the 7 dwarves. Now look at this United Colors of Benetton ad. Look at this stupid ass shit. Can you imagine if they had kept to this and made this the actual movie with these people in these costumes right here? Can you imagine? So anyway, my point about all that is that they have gone back and CGI'd. So Peter Dinklage is responsible for people losing their jobs, like actual dwarves, actors being able to get jobs, and because of that, when that happened, man, like he Peter Dinklage kind of got a bad name, and especially with a lot of people, little people in the movie industry, because there's like, now we can't get jobs. They're doing exactly the opposite of what they should have been doing, which is hiring little people. Now they're hiring regular sized people to play these roles when it should be little people who could get paid to do the role. And so now they're CGIing it now. So that means they're not getting paid. It's really weird. But anyway, so Peter Dinklage was wanting to make a Toxic Avenger. And I know, at our age, you guys remember the Toxic Avenger movie from the 80s. And Peter Dinklage was actually going to be the lead actor in it. And evidently he can't get distribution for the movie, which means it must be just shit. And I'm actually happy about it. It says, while the remake lives up to its name, is being called unreleasable due to an inability to find a game distributor despite some positive reviews. I don't know a lot about it. I just happened to see this story, and I kind of connected it with Peter Dinklage, and as far as him really, opening his mouth a few years ago and costing a lot of people a lot of money. So now it's like he's the only dwarf actor in Hollywood. Like he's the only one that can get hired. So you can imagine that people have probably not real happy with him, especially little people like that. But critical reception is below expectations, according to one producer who said it's too out there for theaters. If it had great reviews, then maybe the forecast would be a little rosier, but there isn't much potential. It's too niche. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it on Tubi a few years from now. And who knows how much money they spent to make it, right? Like, I would love to know what the budget was. You probably won't get those numbers if they don't release it. If it goes straight to streaming or VOD. Yeah. Wow. Years ago, you might be able to pull this off and get something weird or something like that. But it says the film is not safe enough to market. So, and that goes back to everything is a blockbuster now, too. Everything has to be a blockbuster. Has to have a huge budget. It's got to be a big movie in order to get distribution. We don't have as many comedies now. We don't have as smaller budget movies. And a lot of the bigger budget movies aren't doing well. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it says it's odd that a horror film would be spurned for its content in this day and age, especially when it includes Kevin Bacon and Elijah Wood, because I did see Elijah Wood's picture in here. But Peter Dinklage's reputation has wavered enough to have some effect. See, I told you. That's exactly it. Like, you want to watch the trailer? I mean, I don't really care, but his reputation has taken a hit, and that'll do it. Yeah, I agree. It's not a horror movie. 3-star draw says Toxic Avenger isn't a horror movie unless they're turning a specific. I think that's what they were trying to do. It probably would have done better as a let's see here. I'll look it up real quick. Yeah, it would have done better. It would have done better as a streaming, right? Like as a streaming show of some kind. Um, yeah, 100%. Like Netflix, even as a movie, just a movie. It probably would have done better as a, you know, definitely as a movie. Um, let's see here. I'll look it up real quick. Let's watch the trailer and see how goofy this looks. It might be a little gory. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I'll try to. I'll see. I'll give it my best shot. Booty. Whoa. Okay, that's some loud shit. Let's turn that down just a little bit, kids. All right, let me turn this music down. Y'all tell me whether or not. Y'all tell me if this comes through. It should come through. Boom, boom, and away we go.
There are still no leads as to the identity of
the freaky folk hero remains at large. Sir, what did you see last night?
I heard gunshots, saw blood. Handsome fella had his arm tore off like wet bread, and the creature run off into the night.
Wet bread.
hot dog. That part was very shocking to me. Motherfucker.
Can we put that up? Anyone that may have encountered the strange. Breaking news, a group of armed extremists, the Nasty Lads, they've taken hostages at a mismeat lunchatorium downtown.
Let's go live.
We are the Nasty Lads! We are angry!
Go, go, go!
Who the fuck are you?
What the hell is that? He's a hero. The Toxic Avenger.
That's what the kids are
Oh
calling
my
him. I think
God.
it's swell.
Okay. Oh, there you go. That's the only trailer I've seen. That was in 2023. Does it look funny? Maybe. Could it have been good? I don't know. I definitely get it. I think it looks, the trailer itself looks like a freaking ADHD fest, right? Just quick cut, quick cut, quick cut. Reminds me like MTV style. It used to be like, that's the MTV style of editing. Everything's a quick cut. But it's like quick, 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 quick. If they release it on streaming or come out with it that way, then maybe it could be a cult movie. I think that that trailer doesn't look terrible. I don't think it looks terrible. I think it looks fine. But it is a fever dream, right? And so I don't know. Eric Thurman turning 48 in October. I just happened to see that one. Yeah, I'll be 49 in September. Done in the 80s style. Yeah, 3-star. I think beginning of RoboCop. Yeah, right. So yeah, it could be good. Who knows? Obviously, though, if it can't find distribution, that is a problem, and that tells you probably a lot of what you need to know is that yes, you can cut a trailer, but making an actual movie coherently is harder, right? Like, so I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it could be neat, and maybe we will see it, or it could be it could be destined to disappear forever, like a tax write-off, right? They spend all that money, they get credit, and you can never show it. You can never show it. I didn't know this was happening. I know most of you guys, this is probably not in your wheelhouse, But if you really think about it, there's very few people that were as large for a period of time, a large period of time, than Madonna. And I didn't know that somebody was trying to make a biopic January 2023. That's a long time ago. I mean, it's long enough anyway. That they were trying to make a biopic about her life, which Universal Pictures. I would be interested in seeing that. Now, it's not like I don't know enough about her life. I lived it, you know. Basically lived it through all of it so far. And Prince was actually writing a book. He was literally in the middle of writing memoirs when he passed away. And we will never see those. Yeah, she probably does smash Conseco and A-Rod, maybe at the same time. We probably will never get a look at the pages of what was in Prince's memoirs. That would have been an amazing book to read because he was incredibly private. And to have things come straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, I think would have been fascinating because there's been many books written, but no one really knows for sure, And so I'd have loved for that to have happened. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. It's I need a lot of bands. I don't know. It's had different people kind of that were set up to maybe do this project for Madonna. Now, I will tell you, I saw recently part of her recent tour, this celebration tour, so to speak. And she's like 65 years old, 65 maybe. When I was 12, yeah, she's probably like 27, 28, I don't know, whatever, 65, whatever. Anyway, so, but it got shut down. I am curious though, because, again, I know this is not in y'all's wheelhouse, so to speak, I guess. And who would actually play her? I don't know. They would have to go through some intense dance classes, honestly, like really honestly, because her concerts were just maniacally like from an entertainment perspective, from a dance perspective, that's nonstop. And also singing live, and later years not singing live as much, but I think back in the day it was definitely singing live for sure. And then she also had these two backup singers that sang with her from like 87 to like 2000 and oh man, it's like 2003 maybe, or 2011 maybe. I don't know, but she had the same two backup singers for a really long time, and they became kind of semi-famous because they were always on tour with her and singing in backup, on albums and stuff like that. But nonetheless, having lived through the last 40 years of her career, basically, you've got Prince, you have Michael Jackson, and you have Madonna, and those are kind of your three largest. I mean, really, like three huge. And I know, now you've got Taylor Swift, and some people say, Mariah or Whitney Houston. But I think from a performance standpoint, I don't think anybody, female-wise, put on performances like Madonna did. Not even Lady Gaga. But yeah, I didn't even know they were trying to do a biopic or biopic, however you want to pronounce it. But I don't know. I don't even know who would play that role. Florence Pugh. I mean, she's fire, but she's really short. She's like 5'1" or something like that. She can play Prince. Yeah, Janet Jackson, definitely huge. She also did put on big shows full of dance. That's the one thing that I liked is that like back in those days, you'd have full on productions for concerts. But Janet did not sing. Janet did a lot of lip syncing back in the day. A lot. She also was not someone who had a very strong voice. Her voice was very, very quiet. And it came across that way, but in concert, especially, you know. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. I would be curious. I wouldn't mind seeing it, but like I said, having lived through it, I definitely know about most of her life. I remember when she was married to Sean Penn, you know. I remember when she was dating A-Rod and all that crap, you know. I mean, you know, there's different phases, you know, everybody. Let's see. Bobby Wold says, "Did you guys see that one Monster Summer with Mel Gibson?" He's a good director. Don't know if he directed that one though. No, but actually, I believe they're working on a Passion of the Christ too, Bobby. If I recall right, I might be mistaken. Yeah, Passion of the Christ Resurrection. Yep, right there. 2025. You want to talk about a independent movie that just went nuts. That is definitely one. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't get through the Passion of the Christ, the first one. Like I couldn't get through it. I just couldn't watch it. And it's not for the story content necessarily. It's not for what it's about. I have no issues with that whatsoever. But there's scenes in it that I just, man, whew, tough to get through. Yeah, I remember. So when that book came out, Eric, I remember when that book came out, and I was playing in a little rock band in Nashville, a little southern rock band, and I remember this dude, the bass player, he had that book. You ought to look it up sometime, see if you can get your hands on it, see how much you got to pay for it. You want to talk about you want to talk about having to pay out the yin yang? Let's see. I'm trying to remember. $500 on eBay. First edition, metal cover, back collector serial. $500. See, somebody's got it listed here, $49.99. Japanese version though. Japanese version. Interesting. Huh. Japanese version. Oh, such fuck. Madonna. Japanese version. Somebody's selling it for $1,000 on Pango Books, whatever that is. I don't know. Yeah, man. Here's one. First edition, 1992. In English. Yep. $500 or best offer. Golly, I remember that thing. Yeah, right. Eric Thurman says, I haven't seen the first Passion of the Christ. 3-star draw. He didn't make it at the end. No need for a sequel. That's great. Japanese blurry version. Yeah, right. This is your cousin has that book. Yeah, I remember when it was out. At that time, I had no interest per se in getting it. Not that I didn't have a crush on Madonna back in the day. That's for sure. When I was 12 years old. But yeah, like it was actually a big deal back in the day. That's for sure. She's old now though. I seen that concert footage, man, and Yeah, I saw that concert footage and her trying to dance now at 65 years old, and it's just not. It's like just don't. Maybe showcase your vocals more at this point, but because she has a million dancers on stage, and they're all doing shit, putting on a show around her. And don't get me wrong, I mean, she's still out there hoofing it at 65, like some of the dance moves she's doing. But man, oh man, I will tell you, if you are interested, go back on YouTube and watch the Who's That Girl live tour. Like Italy, I think, is a good one. Japan's a good one. Who's That Girl live tour is really good. And I think maybe like the next one or two, like 88, 89, somewhere in there. The obviously when she did Truth or Dare, if you remember that, Truth or Dare came out, 1990 or so. When that movie came out, it was pretty controversial. She was dating Warren Beatty at that time. But that tour is pretty good too. There's some good versions of some songs. But I think, really, like, if you really want like that first big tour, it's like 87 or so. The entire set list is really actually very good. It's also back when they used to have real musicians on stage playing, like, real drummer, and two or three keyboardists and guitar players, and like it actually sounds really good. Touring musicians who were very famous would play, like, she would get like Michael Jackson's drummer, or this Latin percussionist, or this, keyboardist from this band who would go and play with Phil Collins or whatever, it's like just really good musicians. And yeah, those tours, man, there are some amazing musicians. Yeah, that sex book, I guess, I don't know. I mean, she was still pretty damn relevant in 1992. I would say by the time the 2000s came around, when she released music, as amnesia come together, yeah, all that stuff, that was probably regaining some popularity. And by then you had your Britney Spears, your Christina Aguilera's, and all that stuff. But nonetheless, yeah, I'd say, but from 87-ish. 87 to probably 2010, really. I mean 2005 or at least. Pretty good run, 20 solid years. She's one of the ones that hadn't died, that's for sure. Everybody else died, drug overdose, or being shot up to go to bed like Michael Jackson. Shoot. All right. Anyway, well, I ain't got a ton of other stuff to really talk about. Like I said, I was talking earlier about that Star Wars Galaxies game that is coming out from Ubisoft, or Star Wars Outlaws, my bad. And it looks good. Graphically seems to have gotten a bit of a downgrade here recently. Not sure what happened. The trailers they showed originally were actually pretty good, and the most recent footage they put out kind of doesn't look that great, but it's supposed to come out August 30th, and it's an open world Star Wars game. You fly to different planets. It's open world, so I guess I'm assuming it has choice and consequence. I don't know. Now they did have a recent trailer come out, and Ubisoft was asked, negative comments over it recently in the last day or so, and they said no delay, coming out August 30th. You're gonna love it. But I will say, I did go back and watch the footage, and it looked a little rough. I'm not gonna lie. But I've also read and watched videos of people who have played it, and so far they actually really enjoyed it. So it might be fun. I do. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you I don't wish it was. I wish it was a male protagonist. I think this game at one point probably did have a male protagonist, and they changed it. They probably got some kind of, talking to by some consulting firm, and probably told them that they had, if they wanted to be DEI compliant, they had to change the protagonist to be a female. I mean, that's probably what happened. It does not surprise me in the least if that is what happened. So, but it, I don't know. Looks like it'd be fun to play. You can watch. You can go on YouTube and watch 10 minutes of new gameplay footage. You can watch some gameplay footage. You can watch some mission footage, and they have some character, stuff on there too. So if you look it up online, look up Star Wars Outlaws. Be on PS5, Xbox Series X, be on PC. So yeah, I mean, it could be good. We'll see. Like I said, the main protagonist just not. I don't know, not thrilled about it. She's also very ugly. Then when you look at the model they used, and then you look at what they present on the game, you can tell that they uglied her up, which is not unusual in video games these days with females in games. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look like Assassin's Creed with Star Wars music, but like I said, they're known for their towers, climbing a tower, unlocking the map, part of the map, all that stuff. But it's got several planets, moons, and stuff you can fly to, and it looks like, you can seamlessly, when you take off in your ship, you can fly into space, and it automatically switches over. And as you're flying, and then you can find yourself in a dogfight or something like that, which is something Starfield did not do. Starfield was just a cutscene. And, when they tell you can visit and explore and go anywhere and fly anywhere you want to, well, not really. You click on the planet on a map, and then it cuts to a cutscene of you flying there, and then it cuts to a cutscene of you landing, and then it cuts to a cutscene of you getting up out of the seat of your ship, and then it cuts to a cutscene of, whatever. Starfield was a disappointment. But maybe this won't be. Maybe this will be fun. We'll have to see. Early somewhat reviews or early playtesting reviews are in. And so far, I've actually heard pretty good things from the people who have played it so far. We'll see how much they got paid to say that. Yeah, does this character have two moms and a chant? No, but they have two turntables and a microphone. So, anyway, I'm probably going to hop off. My voice is toast. I'm feeling it. Ran through enough news stories today. I think we covered a lot of ground. Super chill stream today. Super weird time. Hit the like button. If you're on a replay, checking it out, hit the like button. Or the dislike button. Whatever. It's up to you. Anyway, I'll be back on Tuesday night with Matthew Matson. Try to cover some topics, cover some ground. We're gonna blast through House of the Dragon. I'm not gonna drag that one out this time. We're gonna get through that one fast as I can, and then we'll hit up some other topics. Found some stuff that Matthew wants to talk about. I'm trying to make my way through Cobra Kai at the moment right now. And I'm on season 2, so yeah, I was bring that up too. 3-star. You get Seven's Wild on Wednesday too, so I'll be doing with there's Kiwi Customs and Collection. What's going on? Glad you stopped by. I was just basically wrapping stuff up. Been going for about 2.5 hours now, 2:20 anyway, and just kind of chilling, super chill stream. Bobby, thank you very much for sticking around, dude, and hanging out. And yes, I will definitely feel better for sure. I think it's mainly sinuses just kicking that ass, man. It happens down here in Tennessee. But yeah, I'll be back on Tuesday with Matthew at 10 Eastern. And then Wednesday night at 9 Eastern with 3 Star Draw, aka Down South 77 on his channel. That will be our Seventh Wild, G.I. Joe news, maybe throwing a couple other things, man. We might expand it out a little bit, but mainly a G.I. Joe stream. And then I will be back next Friday, 100%, and hopefully at 100% on Friday night to do our night stream like normal. Thanks for hanging out on a Saturday. And if you're, like I said, watching this on replay, thanks for watching. If you like what you heard, I am Pop Blender, Pop Blender 75 on Instagram. And obviously you found my channel. So thanks, y'all. Thanks for hanging, man. I will talk to y'all soon, I'm sure. And we're gonna take it out. We're gonna take it out. Let's see. I do love my little custom. I love that little song, though, man. That little funky song is good. All right. See you guys. Take it easy. Have a good weekend.